Hello, I'm Monica Haldar and welcome to The Secrets of How to Cook Indian Food, where I'll be bringing you the tips, tricks and techniques that you need to cook delicious Indian dishes at home. 10 years ago, I started a pop-up Indian restaurant from home with my mum. I now run 2 Indian cookery schools where I teach my students face-to-face and online exactly how to cook delicious Indian food from their home kitchens. I now can't wait to share some of this knowledge with you. In today's episode, we're going to be looking at one of India's most popular vegetarian dishes, Tadka Dal, which is one of India's famous and most popular lentil recipes. Now, lentils come in all shapes, sizes and colours. Don't get confused though, this recipe is very simple. I'm going to be using something called the split moong lentil. They are yellow, they're really light and delicious in flavour. The moong lentil is a staple in many Indian households, especially those that are vegetarian. It's a great one to cook when you have nothing left at home in the pantry or if you're home late from work because it cooks in less than 5 minutes. Now, with all lentils, before you start cooking, it's really important to wash your lentils well. You want to wash your lentils about 2 to 3 times until that water begins to run clear. You can use a colander or a sieve, but I just like to use a bowl with plenty of water and then just carefully use my hands to mix everything together and clean and then get rid of any of the excess lentils. When I was a kid and my mum was teaching me how to wash lentils, she'd always check the sink to make sure I hadn't dropped any in the sink to waste any food. So just be careful when you're washing yours. So our lentils are now washed and I've drained them really well. Let's talk about how we're going to cook our lentils. So there's a 2-step process to making tadka dal. The first step is to boil your lentils and the second step is to make what we call the tadka, which basically refers to just frying spices. We then combine the two and we have tadka dal. So in many Indian homes, you will see this contraption. And if you haven't seen this before, you may have seen it look like this. These are both pressure cookers. This is a Western style pressure cooker. This is an Indian style pressure cooker. They both do exactly the same thing. And I'm going to show you how to make dal in a pressure cooker today because A, it's quick, B, it's easy, and it really does help to cut down on the cooking time by about 70%. Indians cook things like lentils, pulses and beans nearly every single day. So pressure cooker is a must in an Indian kitchen. Now, don't be scared of the pressure cooker. I can appreciate that a lot of people feel quite intimidated by them, but there's no reason to be. Pressure cookers these days are created with lots of safety valves and features. So this is what we're going to cook with today. It works in exactly the same way as a Western pressure cooker. The pressure builds on the inside when the pan is turned on, and then steam is released through a little valve, and then the lentils cook inside. So in your pressure cooker, I'm going to ask you to add your lentils that have been washed into there. Now this is a cup of moong lentils, which is roughly around 240 grams. We want to now add about 4 times the amount of water. So we're looking at about 800 mils, 4 cups of water. So I'm going to add that straight in. I'm also going to get that temperature on a high heat now. Once the water's in, we always cook our lentils with 2 things. The first thing is salt. I'm going to add in a level teaspoon and a half of salt. The next thing that goes in is turmeric, and we're going to put in just under half a teaspoon, and that's it. Those are the 2 things that go in with the dal. So we're now going to pop the lid on. This is really easy. Every pressure cooker is different, but the idea is that there is a tight seal around the edge of the lid and the pressure cooker base. Most have a little clip, and there we go. We're now ready to rock and roll. If you're using a Western pressure cooker, you may see that it has 2 heat settings on it. You want to yank it up to the maximum heat setting on your pressure cooker. This is now going to take a couple of minutes to come up to heat, and when it does, it will release a burst of steam. The same thing happens in a Western pressure cooker. It will let out a little bit of a hissing sound, and that's when you know that the steam has released, and that's when we're going to get our timer on. We'll set the timer for 3 minutes when that happens. So that first burst of steam just went off. You now want to reduce your heat to medium and set the timer for 3 minutes. That whistle, that's called a whistle, will continue to go off for the next 3 minutes. And once that 3 minutes is up, we'll turn the pressure cooker off and let it rest for 2 more minutes. Now, these are referred to as whistles. And this is without a doubt the sound of an Indian kitchen. If you are ever in a residential area in India at about 1 o'clock lunchtime, this is all you will hear, all over the place. There's always some sort of lentil dish or chickpea curry cooking away. This reminds me of home. Okay, so the timer has just gone off after 3 minutes. I'm now going to turn my cooker off, take the pressure cooker off the hob and let this rest for 2 minutes. I'm going to set a timer for that as well. Now it's been a further 2 minutes. Ordinarily, when I'm cooking dal, I just allow the steam to escape naturally. So you can't open the lid until the steam has completely escaped. However, whenever I'm cooking moong lentils, I like to have a little bit of texture. So I don't want to overcook them. So what I like to do is release the steam myself prematurely. So there's 2 ways of doing this. You can either just release the steam by lifting up the whistle. And the same thing goes with Western pressure cookers. There's always a setting that allows you to release the steam. Or to speed up the process, you can just run your pressure cooker under a cold running tap, and that will allow the pressure to release immediately. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, so the steam has been completely released from this, so should be able to open the lid with no problem. Yep. And this is perfectly cooked in a matter of 5 minutes. So I can see here there is still some texture in there from the actual lentils. If I wouldn't have prematurely taken out the steam, this would have eventually sort of turned into almost like a creamy soup type of consistency, which if you like that, that's absolutely fine. But I do like to have a little bit of a bite whenever I make this moong lentils, just personal preference. I'm now going to pop this into my serving bowl, and we're then going to make our tadka. How lovely does this look already? We're now going to add our tadka to it. So the tadka, the best thing about it is that it doesn't even take a minute. And so that is why this dish is considered to be fast food for Indians. Dal and rice is what we consider to be the dish that we make when we're tired, we don't have anything in. It's one of those things that I make when I come back from holiday. I haven't been to the supermarket yet, but I know that I've got dal at home and I know I've got rice at home. So that for me is my go-to combination of dishes. So I've got a small pan for the tadka. We are now going to add a little bit of ghee to this. Now, this is optional, but I like my dal to be quite buttery. So I'm going to go for about a couple of good tablespoons of ghee. Now my ghee has melted. I'm first of all going to add in some cumin seeds. So we're going to go for a level teaspoon of cumin. You can hear that nice sizzle. Next thing I want to do is throw in some ginger. I've got about a tablespoon of grated ginger. This is going to add a really nice warmth to our dal. Give that a quick mix. Next thing is some tomato puree. I've got about a teaspoon. This is double concentrate tomato puree. Give that a mix too. This is going to add a little bit of tartness, a really vibrant colour as well. Now the next thing I'm going to add is one of my favourite spices. It's called asafoetida. It's an edible gum that's been dehydrated and it tastes rather garlicky and oniony, and I'm literally just going to put in a little pinch's worth, so maybe about 1/8 of a teaspoon. This adds lots of flavour. Now I'm going to add chilli in 3 different forms. The first form is fresh green chilli. I've slit that in half. Let's pop that in. Next thing are some dried red chilies. I've got a variety here. Just use what you've got in. This is going to add a bit more of a subtle warmth as opposed to a direct heat. I'm also going to add in a 1/4 teaspoon of chili powder. In that goes. I'm going to crank this up to a high heat and cook this for just less than a minute or so. Okay, this tadka is now done. It literally doesn't need more than a minute. And the way that we serve it is just to drizzle this on top of our tadka directly. So I'm going to drizzle in half of it first. Look at that colour, it's beautiful. I'm going to mix this in. I love the vibrancy of this dish, it's absolutely beautiful. So now I've mixed in half of it. I'm going to use the remaining half as a garnish on top. As a bit of a glaze. And every last little bit of that tadka is going to go on top. As a finishing flavour, we're going to add in some garam masala. This is always added to Tadka Dal. And lastly, to finish, a generous sprinkle of fresh coriander leaves. This looks so impressive and hard to believe that it took less than 10 minutes to cook. You now need to go get a pressure cooker and get your pantry full of lentils so you can now cook up some Tadka Dal whenever you get that craving for some spicy comfort food. I hope you've enjoyed this lesson of the secrets of how to cook Indian food. Be sure to check out my other episodes too. I'm Monica Howder and thank you for watching.